Hey there, it's David H. Lawrence, the 17th, and you've heard the phrase a million times, don't turn a molehill into a mountain. She's making mountains out of molehills. He's making mountains out of molehills. You know, the phrase means building something bigger or giving something more importance than it actually deserves. And what I'd like to do is the opposite today. And I'd like to show you how to turn mountains into molehills for success. So you get anything started, you look at this huge mountain of work that you need to do, right? And it seems insurmountable, but you really want to do it. So you get a running start and you think, I got so much to do. Well, what if there was an easier way of avoiding all that stress and getting started on what you were doing? The way to do that is to reduce that great big pile of stuff that you need to do into what it already is, which is discrete, small, individual things to do. There are people that call them micro tasks. There are people that call them steps, right? So if you keep thinking in terms of all the different things that you need to do or the results, the outcome, it's going to be really hard for you to see the step-by-step process that needs to happen just to get started and to get things moving. You also want to build momentum, right? And the only way to build momentum is to get some early wins. Get some wins under your belt. And it doesn't have to be big wins. In fact, it's probably better if you have more small wins than one big, huge win. As I've been making these videos, I've learned so much about the little steps that I need to do every time I do one. Setting my lights, setting my my sound, making sure that the image looks good, making sure that I don't have anything else running on my computer so I get the best frame grabbing. There's probably, I would say, given, the notes that I take, that I do for each one, and then the building of the web page and the publishing to YouTube and the adding of it. Anyway, the point is there's literally dozens of things, and they're all part of a much bigger project, which is the 365 videos for the year. But if I looked at this as one big glob of stuff that I had to digest, like a snake swallowing a pig, it would be next to impossible. But the idea that I can break it down into individual little tiny tasks and get them done in order is a much more manageable thing, and it builds that muscle memory. Like when I sit down to do a video, I have a pretty good idea of the path I'm taking all along the way, all the way up to getting, if YouTube provides it to me, getting the closed captioning that they do and putting it on the VO2Go webpage for raw SEO. That's like the last step, making sure that it's scheduled properly and all that sort of thing. And when you first start, especially if you're doing this for a business, there's a really big reason that is kind of adjacent to all this to make sure you're doing micro tasks as opposed to big, big, big things that might require staffing or might require outlay for equipment or software. And that is that when you're first starting off doing something, you may be what Will Schroeder calls in startups.com resource constrained. You don't know what it's going to cost you in terms of time, in terms of money, in terms of, people to help you, relationships, support. So you want to break these down into little tiny chunks so that you're not spending a whole ton of money. And when I say tiny chunks, it can be an hour or less. A lot of the things that I do to do these videos is a few seconds, right? Setting the gain and the brightness and the contrast on the camera every so often. Copying the stuff that YouTube gives me in terms of closed captioning, bringing it into BB Edit, which I love, and getting rid of the line numbers and so on that their files give you. That's like a very straightforward process. Takes maybe 10 seconds to do it. And even if it takes up to 30 minutes or an hour, that's still considered a micro task. It's still considered a small enough task that you can see the end of it, right? So if this has helped you, great. I'd love to know what big project you've got looming in front of you. Maybe it's a class you're taking. Maybe it's a project you're working on, your demos, your resume. Maybe it's your on-camera demo. That's like that. Your on-camera reel is an even bigger process than just doing voiceover stuff. Who knows? Whatever it is. If you're not a performer, tell me what project you might be working on that can benefit from reducing it from one big globby thing to do into a series of small, discrete micro tasks that are steps that move you forward and help you build momentum. Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to know that. And if you'd like some insight on how I'm making these videos, I don't know if it'd be helpful to you. I'm really proud of the little tiny things that I've learned along the way. And if there's questions you have, I'd love to do an AMA later on and Ask Me Anything, where I gather up all the questions that people have asked in the comments. I'd love to do that. That's a nice little micro task that I could do for a future video, or 5 as we do these videos all year long. If you'd like to subscribe to my YouTube channel, go ahead and click on my head there. If you see my head there, if you don't, look for a subscribe button somewhere on the page. Then if you want to see the latest video that I've done, go ahead and click on that frame there and YouTube will play it for you. I'm David H. Lawrence, the 17th. I so appreciate you watching these videos, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.